But guys, we're going to start things off today with the Kansas City Chiefs. Which one of you want to kick things off, beating the Jaguars 27-20 on Sunday afternoon?
I'll start real quick. This was not my greatest weekend in picking games. But you know what, when we're talking Kansas City versus the Jaguars, and that was a very winnable game for Jacksonville. A very winnable game. And obviously the future is bright, and we've said that countless times already when we talk about the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, he wasn't terrible in that game. In fact, he made some big throws. He made a big throw downfield to Christian Kirk, just he couldn't reel it in. And you know, that could have been a big difference. They lost by a touchdown. A couple of
Gotta catch that too, Justin. You
yeah,
got
you
as Christian
absolutely,
Kirk, number one, you gotta catch that.
absolutely. So in the biggest moments, it showed that they needed a guy like Calvin Ridley out there. And next year, I think the Jaguars will take that next step from being a 9-win team to potentially a 11, 12, if not more, at some point. But you know, the real story here is the Kansas City Chiefs, and just how consistent this organization is. As much as we want to praise Patrick Mahomes and praise Travis Kelce, who probably is the most unguardable player in football, the real credit to me just goes to Andy Reid, because day in and day out that team is always prepared, no matter the moment. I can never say in a Kansas City Chiefs win or loss that they were unprepared. They're always well coached, and that's a credit to Andy Reid. Patrick Mahomes, now with it's a high ankle sprain, or yeah, a high ankle sprain. Even with it, the guy was still making plays, threw a touchdown on one leg. It's I know in this show I praise Josh Allen, and at some points I come across being disrespectful to other quarterbacks, but Patrick Mahomes is an absolute monster, and I'm not trying to slight him one bit when I hype up Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes is this is five straight AFC title games now. It hurts me to say this, but maybe they really are the next coming of the Patriots, just making it to AFC championship games over and over and over again. I think they're primed to make another run for a Super Bowl, but with that high ankle sprain, it's a little worrisome.
Yeah. Said a lot of good things there, Justin. Yeah, starting off, I mean, the one thing that I took away from this game is before the injury, the Jags defense just could not stop the Chiefs offense. It was apparent that Jags defense was their biggest kryptonite. Um, After the injury, I tweeted immediately that Jags need to apply pressure up the middle, because go ahead and take your luck, or take your chances, Mahomes. If you want to roll out with that bum ankle, go ahead and take your chances, because I'll live with that all day. You got to apply the pressure up the middle. They didn't do a good job of that, and that also has to do it, like John has spoken on many times, of how great that interior offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs is. It's on another level. Um, and when you look at the team stats for this game, right, it's all pretty comparable. They're pretty close, pretty even. Some of them are identical. The only real difference in this game was the two turnovers, and that was the key for this game, was the Jags turning the ball over twice. I'm completely blanking on who turned the ball over first, who fumbled it. Agnew. It was Agnew, the great return man for them, who made a great return earlier in the game. Yeah, that was the first turnover, and then the second one, Trevor Lawrence's interception. Those were the keys of the game. You don't turn the ball over twice. One of those drives was in the red zone, if I'm not mistaken, even closer than the 20-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
If you, that's either 3 or 6 points right there, 7 points if you get the PAT. But you know what I mean. Like that's a major swing. You only lost by 7 points here. The second one, I forget exactly where they were on the field. I think they were close to middle field, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, that's give or take. But they were driving good, so maybe they get away with 3 at least. So you're talking possibly 10-point swing right there. That's major. That's you 30-27 right there. And for the Chiefs going into next week's game, and I tweeted this immediately after the injury happened too. Patrick Mahomes needs to start. He's going to have to become a pure pocket passer. Justin said those days are dead. that they need everything around them for a pure pocket passer. I completely disagree. If you look at Joe Burrow, we're going to talk about that later, 3 offensive linemen down. He's a pure pocket passer. I know he can move, but that is not what he does. He beats you from the pocket. Pocket passers are not dead. They have evolved. He needs to play like Brady, Peyton, Breeze, name the great pocket passer. That's what Mahomes is gonna have to do. And we all know Patrick Mahomes' greatness. John has talked about it at nauseum. The off-platform, the unscripted, backyard football type plays, right? But what is the one thing that I believe we can all agree on if we're looking at Mahomes objectively? He struggles being a fundamental quarterback. Now, he did a very good job last year taking what the defense gave him. But as you saw in this game, even when the injury happened and after, you saw Mahomes' on one play, the rush came. The instinct was, oh, I'm going to move. And then he realized, oh, crap, I can't move. I have to throw the ball from the pocket. They're great when they have the ability to move. But you're going to start to appreciate how great and how I believe more difficult it is for a guy like a Brady, a Peyton, a Breeze to beat you from the pocket, a Burrow now, to beat you from the pocket, purely from the pocket, like how much more difficult that is. So I look at Mahomes and like I said, he struggles with the fundamentals. He's got some of the worst footwork in the NFL. And that's a knock, but it's also, that just shows you how great his arm talent is. We all understand that it's next level. It's one of the greatest arms in NFL history, if not the greatest. I would personally take Aaron Rodgers for my money, but it's right there. It is splitting hairs. So you're going to see, can he beat you from the pocket? And it's because, listen, I don't think I've ever suffered what you would consider a high ankle sprain. I've had 3 ankle sprains in my life. I don't think I've ever had a high ankle sprain, is what the doctor told me. From what I hear from Shannon Sharps of the world, the Michael Irvings, all the pundits and the former football players, they say he's going to be feeling it. Not that game, the adrenaline was rushing, right? Like he can get through it. When he went into the locker room, they probably injected him with something, and the adrenaline just kept him going. But it's usually, everybody knows this, even after the day you work out, if you've taken a long relaxed period off or whatever, or you go play a game that you haven't played in a while, a basketball or football game, it's usually the next day that you feel it. The next 2 days, you're going to be, hunched over. So I would imagine he was in a lot of pain the day after. I know reports have come out that they're much happier with how it looks and how he's feeling a days after. So that's a great sign, but still, he's not going to be 100%. We can all agree with that. I would be surprised if that ankle is even near 70% by Sunday. And listen, that Cincinnati defense, we're going to talk about it. They got some really good players, borderline great, but they don't have that one mega game changer like an Aaron Donald, Micah Parsons, or Nick Bosa. In that realm, John, that guy, he's not in that realm. And AD, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, I'm sorry. He's great, but he's not on those guys' levels. But that Cincinnati defense, for that, they play great. They play hard. And they've been playing phenomenal the last couple of weeks. And I just think it's going to that Kansas City is going to have their hands full, especially with that injury. And one last thing on the Jags defense. That's a major flaw for them going into next year. They're going to need to plug some holes in the offseason. They're going to need to get some guys. I think they're going to need to go get a game changer, playmaker on defense that can really, to look at that guy, like I said, like an AD, obviously not those, but you know what I mean? Like a high-ranking defensive player that can make you a play. But that's really all the Jags are missing. Next year, I'm on the Jags wagon. I believe they're winning the AFC South.
Could you imagine if the Jaguars had the defense that Blake Bortles had?
Oh, they would be in the Super Bowl. They'd yeah. Saxonville, baby.
Couple key takeaways in this game. Number 1, in moments like this, my brother's a Chief fan, we're talking about it, is when you can use Tyreek Hill. Get him the football and let him do his thing after the catch. The second thing I noticed pretty quickly, After Mahomes' broken kneecap in that game versus Denver, Kansas City is horrible on third and short. I mean, terrible. In this game, Isaiah Pacheco was phenomenal. He had one filthy run where he was able to extend, and we thought he got the first down. The Chiefs actually tried to challenge it. They didn't get the challenge, and so it was third and inches. And most teams on third and inches with Patrick Mahomes would go for it for the QB sneak. The Chiefs are literally never going to do that. And they even got a fullback on the roster. It's weird. They just decided to punt on fourth and inches in the fourth quarter. In an event where if you got that first down, the game was sealed up by 10 points. Kansas City is really going to need it. I mean, Orlando Brown this game, I want to talk about him a little bit. I think he gave up at least 6 pressures early. That was how Patrick Mahomes had his injury against Arden Key. Key kind of dropped his weight on Patrick Mahomes. And for those of you out there that maybe don't know what exactly a high ankle sprain is, I've got it right here. Come on, Google, you can do it. It's a stretching or tearing of the ligaments just above the ankle. And so I thought that could have been a lot worse. We saw it with Tony Pollard in the Dallas game. It's basically what connects the shin bones, the tibia, and the fibia. So that could be a terrible injury. It's good it was just a high ankle sprain.
He's very lucky he didn't break his ankle because it looked really bad.
We can see like a tib-fib fracture happened with Dak Prescott. Alex Smith, it was the leg itself. It wasn't the ankle. It's good news that he can play in this game, let alone. But I feel like for this Kansas City offense, we don't give them enough credit for how many dynamic weapons they have. Kadarius Toney, Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon was great for them later in the season. I love this committee. Now, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, I know he had a touchdown in this game. That guy really irritates me. I mean, he's tall and he's fast for nothing. He can't catch the ball. He won't go up and grab a contested catch. It drives me crazy. But Juju, Travis Kelce, J-Ray, you talked about him. Andy Reid has so many different dynamic weapons, different threats that will keep the defense guessing. For Jacksonville side of things, Trevor Lawrence didn't play his best game, right? He had the interception, one drive, 2 plays after the Jamal Agnew fumble. Christian Kirk has to come down with that football. I know the Agnew fumble was tough. He's a great weapon, and that sucks. But, I mean, the biggest mistake of the game is Kirk. That was a 55, 60-yard bomb, and it went right through his hands. It wasn't Daniel Jones to Richie James where he could have put it on his shoulder and James dropped. No, it went literally right through Christian Kirk's hands, a 60-yard play. That, to me, was the ceiling here. Kansas City's defense, though, guys. A lot of people have criticized them throughout the season. They held up strong, better than the Chargers did surely in the second half of that game. I feel like for the Chiefs, with Steve Spagnuolo, they're always going to have a competent defense. And given what they got in the secondary, I think for them it's not on the level of the Bengals, but it is severely disrespected. Chris Jones is a stud. Frank Clark can get to the edge, definitely pressure the quarterback. And I love George Karlaftis as well at Purdue. Talking about this game for Cincinnati, fellas, Brandon, you're talking about the Bengals' lack of a superstar. This defense is Super Bowl material. We can talk about that coming right on up with this Bills game. Kansas City's going to have their hands full because with their ability to get to the quarterback, TJ Reader stuffing the run, that's going to change this entire game. TJ Reader is one of the 3 or 4 best in the league at that. And so when you had Pacheco, 92 rushing yards versus Jacksonville, maybe getting his carries cut down, the yards may be cut in half. They're going to rely a ton on these weapons on the outside.